Let's go ahead and here.
Hello, everyone. Today is Monday, and we are back to our live. I know you guys need few seconds to start saying hi to us, and hopefully you're gonna be enjoying our live. First of all, I would like to thank everyone for joining our membership on YouTube. And we're charging only $3.99. But I want to tell you guys that it's gonna be for the good cause. We're gonna be changing somebody's life. We're gonna be awarding free classes. We're gonna be giving education for the people who really in need. So when you pay the $3.99, it's really you changing trucking industry together with us. Hello, guys. Hi, Ken. Hi, Venceslav. Hi, Tips Trucking Adventure. Hi, Vanessa. How are you? And today we have a very good subject, guys. Topic. We have been talking about negotiations in the class, right? And all of you know that we will be hosting our freight brokerage class. And one of our instructor, John Lancelotti, he will be teaching you guys, and he is great with negotiations. And that's why today I will be bringing him as a guest, and we're going to be seeing from both sides, from the dispatcher sides and the broker sides, what can be improved. And before we're going to bring him, of course, we're going to go through the few slides because you guys already used to me sharing extra knowledge with you. And hopefully you guys are going to learn extra things about dispatching, about trucking, about logistics. Hi, Jose. Hi, Santino. And please make sure you ask the questions because this is the purpose of our life, that you guys get your questions answered by me and our guest. So let's see. We're going to start with first few things. First, I want you to understand that when you see the rate on a load board, that's usually it's not all in. It's rare that they're going to post top number on the load board. Of course, they're going to keep some money and they already know that you're going to be negotiating, right? So a lot of times, I want you not to be afraid to negotiate the rate. But before you negotiate, you need to know why you're asking for more money, right? So especially if you are new, in our class, we go in details. The first question you need to ask. But remember, it should not sound like a script. Yes, you need to ask what time is the pickup? When is it delivering? What is the zip code? What is the delivery zip code? You need to look at the map. But it has to be live. You cannot sound like a robot. Okay, what is the commodity? Is it palletized? It's not palletized. How many pallets? You need to stop. You need to breathe. You need to feel other person. Is he under pressure? You have to look, when was this load posted? Was it posted 2 minutes ago, 30 seconds? Or maybe it's already been a load board for 4-5 hours, right? So you have a better chance to negotiate. Well, you have to just remember that all of us are trying to make money. You as a dispatcher, you trying to negotiate rates for your carrier. Broker, he's trying to make money by also selling the loads. Can he sell the load and make zero? No. Can you drive and take the cheap load and not be profitable? Not. So there is somewhere golden middle, right? Your negotiations have to improve, but also your negotiations have to be realistic. And for them to be realistic, we have to make sure you guys know how to use those tools. In the last class this Saturday, we've been talking about checking the quick rate search for the last 15 days, checking the quick rate search for the last 7 days, checking the trend lines for this month. Right now we finished September, we are in October. The rates went down a little bit compared to September to August. Probably they're gonna go up because holidays are coming, spot market, right? So for you to negotiate, you need to have knowledge. And of course, you will need to understand some things, right? So let's see what I prepare for you. First, I want to make sure that each of you, and I don't really care if you only just dispatcher, company dispatcher, if you are independent dispatcher, if you are owner operator, if you are truck driver, if you own a trucking company, guys, you need to know your operating cost. You need to know how much goes for fuel per mile, how much insurance cost per mile, how much you guys pay in driver per mile, what is your preventive maintenance, right? What is your extra maybe repairs? You need to know this, because if you do not know your bottom dollar, your operational cost, how can you dispatch? How can you promise somebody that they're going to be profitable? So this is homework which has to be done with each truck, with each combination, because every equipment costs differently. For example, reefers, they have extra cost because they are using reefer fuel, right? They also have extra maintenance. Flatbeds, step decks, they need to buy extra equipment, right? Tarps, chains. I mean, even dry vans. What if you invest in an e-track? Then your dispatch service, then maybe TMS, right? Tracking management system software. Anything you guys put into running this business, this is your operational cost. So for you to be profitable, your rate per mile has to be higher than your operational cost. This is just business 101. But I want to make sure that you guys understand this. So this was the first thing for you to know before you start dispatching. If you have been dispatching and you've never think about it and you don't really know operational cost, then it should be your homework after today's live. Pay attention to drop-off location. Drop-off location. And look here, we're giving you example. For example, the rates paying good to Florida, right? Well, it's really easy to get the good loads to Florida. But as a professional dispatcher, as a person who's been dispatching or gonna start dispatching, you're gonna see that coming out of Florida is very hard, and it's always low rates unless this is a produce season. And a produce season, sometimes it's only from April till July. That's it. So we have that 7, maybe 8 weeks of the produce paying in Florida, but it also goes backwards. So if the produce paying in Florida, then the loads going to Florida are not paying. But again, you really have to be careful. Florida is a big state, right? This is a big difference to go all the way to Miami or go to Jacksonville, because Jacksonville, at least you can get a short load and get out to Georgia, to South Carolina, maybe Mississippi, maybe, I don't know, North Carolina, Tennessee. If you go all the way to Miami and you still did not charge enough, because it sounds like it was good paying load, but not good enough to cover your low paying load all the way from Miami back to Chicago. So please make sure you pay attention to drop off and your pickup and the market. So when I am telling you, when something sounds too good, 2 steps you need to do. You're gonna go to Power That, and I will show you a few tricks in the end of today's video. After we're gonna be done talking with John, I will show you how to check what's going on tomorrow. What is the load ratio, truck load ratio, right? What is the pay? What are you facing tomorrow? So 2 things, quick research and posting the truck in Miami, posting the truck in Philadelphia, posting the truck in Oklahoma City, and seeing how many loads are going to be there tomorrow, how many loads are going to be there Friday, right? And if you go somewhere, and I will give you example. Today, my truck got loaded in Minnesota area. He is going towards Colorado, right? 830 miles. Well, broker just wanted to pay $3,100. He ended up paying me $4,025. Why? Because tomorrow, guys, it doesn't matter how good I am. It doesn't matter if I am that sassy dispatcher. That area does not pay. So what did I do today? I got an extra $1,025 to help me with my rate per mile with coming out of Colorado, right? If I would not only take 3,200 with my load tomorrow, my rate per mile average would really go down. This way, no matter what, I still gonna be at my 360, 370 per all miles because I took the strong load to go to bad paying area. Okay, let's continue. So pay attention. Where is it going, right? Let's see. Load to truck ratio. I just were explaining to you that you always have to make sure that you go. And if you go to the area where so many loads and is a small number of trucks, what's going to happen? Of course, it's easier to negotiate the rate. But if it's the opposite way, you go to the area where it's only 10 loads, but 120 trucks, what's going to happen? Rate's going to go down. So it's opposite, supply demand, right? Load to truck ratio is always affecting rates. Do you need to know this as a dispatcher? Yes, of course you do. How are you going to know? With the tools. PowerDad has the tools. TruckStop has the tools. So if you using them every day, you guys will understand how this works. Let's see what other trick I'm telling you. Well, you need to look at the average spot rate, right? When you posting your truck and you looking for the load, let's say from Memphis to Dallas, Tennessee, Dallas, Texas, and it's a drive-in, that is gonna show you average paying, right? It's gonna show you how much everybody been paying. So when you're gonna make that phone call, you should have already that number in your head. So let's say when our guest John, he's a broker, gonna answer that phone, and you know that everybody else been paying 1,800 and he's telling you 900, 1,100, you know that he's too low. You need to push him, but can you really push him $1,000? Well, we're gonna ask him that. But you need to understand that you have to check what's going on. And remember one thing, do not be afraid to turn down low paying freight because this doesn't make sense for you. This doesn't make sense for your carrier. So say no to the nonsense. Okay, let's continue. Well, mark the loads time. So the longer the loads remains on the load board, the more anxious the broker will be to find the truck. So pay attention to the age posting. But a lot of times, this is not an indication because I can tell you this. We have lots of brokers who simply do not take off the loads from the board. So this is an advice, but probably it's 50% correct. The second biggest problem for dispatchers, brokers, truck drivers, and everybody in logistics to make sure that the transit and HOS, hours of service, go hand in hand. How important is this to understand hours of service? How important it is as a dispatcher to have access to your driver's ELD? How important it is to calculate that? And if you need more time, you're going to tell broker, you know what, John? I need few seconds. Let me make sure that the transit from Washington to New Jersey can be done. Because do you think that broker wants you to take the load and then sit somewhere in the middle of Montana or Wisconsin and do your restart for 34 hours just because you simply forgot to calculate and see that he will need to do restart? No broker likes that. And I am actually telling everybody that it's not only dispatcher's responsibility, but a good broker will always double check. Are you sure that you have enough hours? Are you sure that you fresh on your hours? That's what it means. Are you sure you fresh on your hours? Do you have enough on your cycle? And as many of you know, we have cycles, 70 hours, right? How many hours driver can drive? 11. From that 11 hours, we still need to fuel and take a break. We have 14-hour shift. So are we flying? So let's take 11 hours. Let's take 10 hours. If you already loaded and you going from coast to coast, maximum 600 miles a day, because we hit the traffic, we hit the weather, the drivers still have to stop, wash out, eat. So when you looking at the transit, that's how you calculate. The first day you're gonna lose for loading, unloading, so you're not gonna make 600 miles. You lucky if you get out with those apples or cherries or that beer in time, so you can make at least 350, 400 miles. And then 600 miles, 600 miles. That's how you need to look at the transit. Of course, we cannot predict this, but this is the closest you can get. So HOS is very important, okay? And your driver can help you, and your driver can tell you how he's driving, what is he comfortable with, right? Let's continue. Well, any fees. Do you need to ask before you start negotiating if your driver will need to pay, for example, for the alcohol permit, any fees to the port, maybe gate fees, maybe he goes to the Bronx market, he has to pay the fee to go to the market. Is that going to be reimbursed, right? Or does he have to pay for lumper? How much is the lumper, right? Does he have to assist? What if he needs to assist loading, unloading? Can you ask this after you negotiated the load? What about fuel surcharge? And today I actually going to be asking John if they ever practice that, because a lot of people forgetting about asking, okay, so we negotiated the price $8,000. Does that include fuel surcharge? What is a fuel surcharge? How it's calculated? Well, fuel surcharge, this is a number which changes every day. It's national data. So that's what shippers, receivers are supposed to pay to us carriers per mile. So you can Google today's fuel surcharge for today, how many cents. So if let's say it's 0.26 and you have 1,000 miles, $260 supposed to be added to us as a carriers. And usually broker will say, oh, it's already included in the rate. A lot of times when you book last minute loads with Coyote, XPO, CH Robinson, TQL, you see that they gave you extra money and they're telling you, well, we are losing money. And the charge is fuel surcharge. And they adding you that $300, $400. You know, I cannot really say why are they doing that or why are not they giving us. This is something which goes in industry, but I do believe that a lot of that money stays in broker pockets. And is it fair? Not. I mean, I am on this side. I am on your side. I am dispatcher, as many of you. I'm also owner of the company. I don't think it's fair, and it should be all transparent. That's why I really believe that this has to be more transparent. We should be able to see this is how much was paid for this freight. This is how much brokers making. This is how much lumpers are. This is how much fuel surcharge. And this is our rate. And then we just negotiate and do our best. But you know what? I cannot control all the business. Maybe, hopefully, one day, if I become a president of the trucking industry, I can do those roles. But let's continue, guys, right? Thank you guys for watching. And thanks, Andre. Thanks, Lessa. Thanks, Muna. Everybody, Jose, Santino. We're going to be bringing your questions because I will be bringing our guest just in a few seconds. I want you to remember, get everything in writing. Broker is promising you. Don't worry about it. You're going to be working. We're going to pay you detention if it's going to be more than 2 hours load unload. He's telling you that on the phone. How many times does it happen that, yes, you work in, you sitting there for 5-6 hours after you deliver the load, you send the request back to the broker, and broker stop answering the phone, or he says, I never told you that. I never told you that. So remember, new dispatchers, when you sign rate confirmation, if anything was promised to you, for example, you will be paid attention after 2-3 hours, make sure that they confirm that. Just say, hey, hi John, how are you? I just want to make sure that if we're gonna be loading or unloading more than 2 hours, it's gonna be paid. Let's say in this case, John, he's a produce broker. He's gonna say, unfortunately, we do not pay detention on produce loads. We might pay layover, but not detention. So at least you are clear. So you know, your driver know, and you know what are you dealing with, because that's why produce loads a lot of times pay higher than regular loads, because they already predicting that your loading time is not going to be 1 hour, it's not going to be 2 hours. And usually most of them have 2-3 picks in California, in Washington, and everywhere else. But just make sure anything you discuss, anything you send back, it has to be via email. It cannot be only via phone. Last Monday, guys, we were going about verifying broker and shipper information on the rate confirmation. But what else we need to do? We need to make sure that we run a credit check, right, on our broker. And how are we going to do that? Of course, we're going to do it on factoring if you have factoring. If you don't have factoring, you can look at least at the rating on the debt or truck stop. And again, pay attention to this. Day to pay, DTP. DTP means what is the average pay for this broker. So if DTP is 90, that means that they pay their bills in 90 days. This cannot be A credit. Usually A credit, it's payment up to 30 days. B, payment from 30 days to 60 days. C, everything after 60. So even if you have only DTP data in front of you, you can kind of logically already understand, well, this broker pays in 60 days. This is a good credit. While this guy pays in 79, well, maybe I should go to the first guy, even if he's paying $150 less, because you're going to know for sure that your money going to be in your bank. What else? We need to pay attention to, okay, when negotiating frame loads, ask questions, right? And we know the questions. What is a commodity? How heavy it is, right? We need to make sure any other accessorial charges. But guys, you have to make sure, if sometimes broker gonna say, no, I cannot give you money, you can tell them, can you put my offer in? And a lot of times they're gonna come back to you when they need the truck. And if they don't come back to you, you're just gonna start looking for something else, because it's not that hard to go back to load board without frustration and look for the better option. Also in my class, guys, I am telling you, you could never book the load only from one phone call. Let's say you start your day and the first broker called you. You did not even check the market yet. You don't even know what's going on. And he calls you and he pushes on you. Well, I see your truck is ready to go here. I have this load. Tell him that you need few minutes. Let me check the market. Let me see what's going on. You can take all his details. You can ask him if you guys set up. If you're not set up, you can say, why don't you send me the link and we can get set up for future references, right? You can buy your time, but please don't make decision from first phone call. Go back and analyze everything. Well, I'm going to be bringing our guest and we're going to be talking about psychology of negotiation. So Here you go. John is here. Hi, John.
Hi, Alex.
How are you?
I'm great. How about yourself?
I'm good.
So,
So,
if
what
it's
are
all
we
right,
going to be talk about today? Because everybody knows that you are our instructor for our freight brokerage. Probably we have some new people. So why don't you tell us how long you've been in the business shortly? And then we're going to go to your topic because you are the expert. I negotiate on my side, but you can tell us better ways to get more money out of you, right? Because that's the purpose of this video. How can we get more money out of brokers' pockets? So we're not here to help you. You're going to help us to get better rates.
well, I'm very good at self sabotage, so we can take it from that angle. I've been in the business for 11 years. I started out as a broker with no negotiating experience at all. I did do real estate for a little, but shortly thereafter, I moved to brokerage. I was in a freight broker only for 2 years. Then I moved to an asset and brokerage company for about 7 years. And I've been with my current broker, my current job, for the last 2 years. I've done everything from dispatch trucks to broker loads. I've even done inside sales. I've done outside sales as well, standard sales. So cold calling or even bringing new accounts on board that weren't an extension of a house account. And I've been doing a little bit of all that for the last 11 years.
Okay. But you also took a lot of trainings on negotiations, right?
I have. I've taken my first negotiation class back in 2012. And since then, I've done everything from take classes to do my own research. And one of my main focuses in my research has been Chris Voss's work. He's a
And
former
who is him for people who don't know? Who
So
is
Chris
he?
Voss is a former FBI lead negotiation expert for terrorism and hostage taking.
Well,
So
believe me, a lot of times in trucking, I feel like I am dealing with a terrorist. So we have brokers on one side, we have unhappy drivers, and I am in the middle to make sure both of you do not kill me. Sometimes it does feel like that.
it's a
Sorry, but
no-win situation. That's absolutely right.
okay. So,
So if it's okay, you brought up some good points just before I get into my short presentation. I'd like to address some things that you brought up
okay.
because they will tie in nicely to what I have to speak about.
Okay.
So you mentioned what time of day are you negotiating? That is very important. So it's a broker's morning and it's a carrier's afternoon. It's been this way the entire time I've been in the industry.
So can you specify that again? Because for new people who they it's so when you say that it's broker's morning, what do you actually mean?
So what I mean by that is all the loads are on the board in the morning and all the trucks are on the board in the morning as well. So
Okay.
if you have a truck in Washington and I have a load, I'm going to call you up. I'm going to call you up at 9 a.m. my time, 8 a.m. your time. You just got in. I've had a chance to check out the market, so I have a little bit of an edge over you because I know the market has way more trucks than loads. So I know that I can hit you with a rate that is $500 less than the previous day. You're going to look at it and you're going to say, okay, I'm one of 100 trucks in a market with 10 loads. So maybe I can get a little more money, but ultimately the ball is in my court as the broker. I have the negotiation advantage. Now, when it comes to the afternoon, all the trucks are gone. Now we're left with the cheap paying loads. And rather than take a cut into your margin, let's say as a broker, you make 5% instead of 10%. If it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you're talking about a 20% loss if you can find a truck. It's the carrier's market now.
Okay. So in this case, sometimes I tell if and for example, I work with you guys. I don't play that game morning, afternoon. I actually pre-book loads with you because I've been working with you guys for a long time. Is pre-booking would be a good thing if you are working with the same brokers, because if we've been working for a long time, I mean, you should treat me with loyalty, so you're not really going to be taking advantage of me. Also, I will be easy in your process tomorrow by giving you truck right away if you fair to me and you honestly know. And that's what I usually get from you guys. You say, well, you know what, today we pay this, tomorrow it's looking like it's going to go lower or higher, but we can close it today. Or should I still play that game? Hard to get. Here, John, it's hard to get. Actually, my truck's going to be in Washington on Friday. So I'm going to have a few trucks in Washington. So are we going to play this game, or are we going to just kind of be loyal to each other?
Well, if it's a carrier that you're loyal to and you have an outstanding business relationship, what I do is I'll tell my carrier, I'll text him on, for example, Monday for Tuesday work. I'll say, one of my carriers, I'll say, hey, Adam, do you have any teams in Fresno? I have these loads going to Carlisle, PA. He'll say, yeah. When does it deliver? And I'll tell him, and he'll say, okay, save me the load. We'll figure out the rate in the morning. Okay. That's how I go about things, because if I pre-book him and I pay him today's rate, and next thing you know, the market drops tomorrow, I have to drop him, because my boss is going to look at my rate and he's going to see my rate is 10% higher than everybody else's.
But also it can go a different way, because market can spike up and then he's going to say, well, John, I'm not going to take your load. The rates went up 2,000, especially with produce, it can go like this too.
That's absolutely right. So it protects you as the broker, it protects you as the carrier, and it also protects the integrity of the relationship when you have that understanding that you're going to get the fair market rate. And sometimes we will even give our preferred carriers a little more money because we know that they're going to take care of us. And they do stuff like that. They give us trucks in a market where they could, today they can go out and get 25% more than we're paying, but they're also getting 5% more when the market's dead. And they understand that.
Okay, so let's play this scenario. I am a new dispatcher. I'm call you actually, I posted the truck, you calling me. Got so excited. Oh my God, somebody's calling me, right? We're talking. Let's say I did not do my homework. I did not really check the market. Are you going to tell me right away the number, or you're going to ask me how much do I want?
It depends. I'm going to look at a couple different things. So I'm going to look up how long have you been in business?
Let's say new carrier, new dispatcher. You know that they're newbie. When you even answer the phone, they got like, okay, yeah, which truck? Oh, one in Washington. Oh, okay. So they get nervous, so you can feel, come on. You and me, we're professionals. You can feel the newbie right away. Although, yes, confidence gonna come, but a little bit later. So in this case, you as a professional, are you gonna take advantage of that?
Yes, I'm absolutely going to take advantage of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see, okay, where is their truck located? Do they know the rates? So if I start telling them about cherries and they say, oh, what temperature do you run? I know they've never hauled this product before. Everybody knows cherries run either 32 or 33.
Well, but sometimes you want to verify it too.
Of course. But typically what I say as a broker is, I want you to pre-cool 34, run per bills, call me with questions.
Yes.
So there are certain things that I'm going to ask them to gauge their level of awareness of not only the commodity.
So let's say students after my class, they knew that it's going to be 34. Okay, what else? So they say, oh yeah, no problem. We're going to pre-cool. We even have E-Track. What else?
So
how are you going to start nibbling at them?
So the nibble is a technique I'm not going to go into today, but it is something that I worked into our course. Mm-hmm. So what I'm going to do, though, I'm going to ask them little probing questions. I'll ask them, does your truck go to PA and Mass? I might not even have two separate loads. I want to see, because if they will go to PA and not Mass, I don't have a Mass load. I have a PA load. So I'll say, oh, great. I have this load. It's going right where you're looking to be. So now I know that I have something they want. I'm not going to have to sell them as hard on it. So
okay, let me say this. So if you tell them I have the load to PA and Massachusetts, and they say, well, we need the load to Massachusetts, and you don't really even have that load, so how are you going to play this game now?
That's an easy one. So I say, okay, let me pull this load up. So this load is picking up out of Wenatchee, Washington, and it delivers. Oh, hold on a second. It looks like somebody covered that load in my office. I'm sorry, I hadn't refreshed my board.
So you're admitting right now you're going to be lying just because you use a tactic to feel how good they are in their knowledge, right?
It's all about probing. Yep, okay, it's all about probing and getting knowledge.
We're going to call this probing, not lying, probing. We're going to be professionals about this, right? Okay, probing. So, okay. So now they go on the note to Pennsylvania again. They're going to ask you, how much are you paying?
That's right. So let's say the market right now is $8,500 and their truck happens to be, let's say, where's Washington? We have a lot of deadhead. We have 200 miles deadhead. So I know the market's at 85. I know they're an inexperienced dispatcher. So what I'll say to them is, okay, looks like, today's Tuesday. Looks like yesterday we were paying right around 8,100 on a load like this. Does that sound like a rate that you'd be able to meet me on? Maybe they say yes. Maybe they say no. Maybe they put me on hold to check with their boss, check with the driver.
Maybe they're just going to be like the rest. No, I need to be at 10,000.
So they're using a technique called high anchoring.
Yes.
So typically when somebody says something like that, an inexperienced negotiator, not knowing the market's 8,500, they'll come back and say, well, maybe we can split the difference at 9,000. Do not ever split the difference under any circumstances, because you're meeting halfway, and guess what? The new halfway is 9,500. Now that works out for the carrier. It doesn't work out for you as a broker. So typically what I'll do in that circumstance, I'll put them on hold. I'll put them on mute, whatever. And I'll count to 30. I'll ask my coworkers. I'll do whatever. I know where I have to be on this rate. So I'll come back to them now knowing they need to go to Pennsylvania. And I'll say, listen, I can help you out with your deadhead. I'll do 8,400. There's this psychology of round numbers that comes into this too. People like your 8,500s, your 9,000s, your 10,000s. 10,000 is a beautiful number, but so is 9,000. So is 8,500. It sounds good. It feels good. It looks good. So then they're going to come back to you at 9,000 because they're going to say, oh, let's split the difference, because that's what inexperienced people do. And that's what this person is in this scenario. They're an inexperienced new dispatcher. When they hit that number, you've got them. Then you tell them, all right, listen, I went to my manager. The best I can do is 85. I hope we can work this out. I want to get your driver to where he's looking to go. You are going to close that deal as a broker more times than you're not, because you know your market, you know the type of person you're dealing with at that point, the type of person you're negotiating with, and you're using a tried and proven negotiation tactic of just going incrementally up until
Okay,
you get.
then let's talk about same scenario. And I am with experience and being a negotiator. Let's talk about this. So I'm calling you or you calling me. So first, well, you offered me what, 8,100?
8,100.
Right? 8,100. Listen, John, I'm delivering in Seattle, right? 167 miles deadhead, right? So we need extra money for that. Who is a receiver in Pennsylvania?
It's going to Giant Foods.
Oh, Giant Foods. Okay. So I have to use a 76 tolls cost. Do we have appointment? When is it scheduled?
5 a.m. on Saturday.
5 a.m. on Saturday. Wow, looks like it's also extra day in transit, huh? So, John, I just checked. Let me see. Seems like market today is paying 85, 86. With my that had everything, I really need to be at 91.50, and this would be my bottom dollar.
91.50. All right. Hold on a second, Alex. Let me put you on hold. Let me see what Guy's been covering these at.
Okay.
So, Alex, it looks like, we did pay one load 8,800, but here's what I can do. I really can only do 8,800, but this customer, it's very easy to move these delivery appointments. Get loaded. Send me an email, and I'll change it to Friday morning for you. That way you can save the $250 layover for your driver. I'm getting close. I'm about $300 off on your rate, but you save $250, and this is a load of apples. It's not a very big, it's not an insurance nightmare if we were to have an issue. It handles temperature changes a lot better than cherries, and it's a nice, easy 1-in-1. What do you say?
Well, I would say I would go to 91 because I know my guy. He's a good guy, good equipment. We're going to be there in time. And, with deadhead and loading. And who is loading? Where are we loading? Who is the shipper?
Stimil.
Stimil. Stimil is going to take 6-7 hours, right, John? So we can settle for 91 right now, and you don't have to pay that extra money because the driver will be pissed. You know that. I know that, right? So can we close us at 91?
Well, to come out of this for a quick second, Alex, what time of day are we negotiating this?
We're negotiating this at noon. You're getting close to that 4 p.m., 3 p.m. They're gonna close. 10 mils. You need to make appointment. And I'm
So
at the carrier, and my guy is already empty, so he is deadheading from. He's going to Ellensburg, Washington.
so if it's noon and I know you, I'm going to give it to you.
Okay.
If it's noon and I don't know you, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, all right, Alex, let me do this. I know you have a 200-mile deadhead. I know you'll make it before they close. Give me 5 minutes. I'm going to call the shipper. I want to make sure they're going to have the product available, and I'll call you right back.
Okay.
In that 5 minutes, I'm shopping. I'm
And
calling
I'm
the shopper.
shopping. And I'm
Yep.
shopping.
Yep,
We
that's
both
right.
shopping. So at this point, we both doing our jobs. I am calling other people to see what commodities they have because you just mentioned, well, this is the apples. And if I get the same, let's say 8,900, but it's a cherries, of course I have to be silly enough not to take apples for 89, right? So I am doing my job. So for all my new dispatchers, even if you guys get close to this, and you cannot close at the rate which is good for broker because he knows what he needs to be and you need to know where you need to be, you can still take that few minutes, get his name right, and what can happen? Well, it can happen that he's gonna cover that load and you're gonna be stuck with cherries for probably 87. It can go both ways, but it's not the end of the world as long as both of you know your bottom dollars and where you can be, right, John? Because you know where you can be. I should know as a dispatcher what is profitable for me. But for me as a dispatcher, I need to do a little bit more work because I need to check on HOS. I need to check what other people paying because usually, John, you when you have lots of load, do you really check what other brokers are really paying? You don't check that every 2 minutes. You check in the morning, like average, and you're gonna know mostly from your clients what are they willing to pay because they will say, John, yeah, last week we gave you 10 grand, but everybody else is willing to take this loads for 8,000. So a lot of times it's not you being a bad guy putting the rates down. It's actually customers. And that's what people do not understand. So can you clarify this? You as a broker, in between, let's say, cherries, apples, grapes in California, and when you bring them to Boston market, to Bronx market, to Giant Foods, are you really dictating that market? Because that's what they think. Well, today John may be in a bad mood, so he doesn't want to pay me that extra $1,500. So that's really important for new dispatchers to understand how it goes.
Sure. So some people certainly think that is the case. I've had carriers call up, speak to the manager, and then call back and ask to speak to another one of our coworkers who he normally deals with, who gives him what he wants. So they know what's going on. Do we always determine the rate? No, sometimes we do. Sometimes the market determines the rate. It really depends what the lane is. So if I'm moving a common lane out of California to Pennsylvania, yeah, I'm going to look and see what the brokers are paying, but I'm also going to post a load. It might be a real load, might be a load we don't have, like Fresno to New Jersey or LA to Atlanta. And I'm going to field some phone calls. I'm going to make up the details of the load. I'm going to tell them we're quoting a customer, and I'm going to say, I need your best rate because I want to try and get you this load. There are many different ways that you can go about finding what the true rate of the market is.
Okay. So again, in this scenario, we're just gonna kind of finish it up. Dispatcher has more power afternoon or when he's recovering truck, right? Same
Correct.
scenario. Right now it's a Friday night, Saturday morning. Somebody maybe truck broke down, or maybe they did get a better load and they were not honest with you, right? They tell you, oh my God, turbo blown out. Blah. Well, honestly, they just lying to you most of the time, unless they can prove, because it does happen.
Mm-hmm.
So we have more power if we recover in truck. But for us to be recovering truck, we have to be right there in that area at that time. And a lot of times, me as a professional dispatcher, I'm not going to sit there and hope for the miracle. Hopefully, I'm going to get $1,000 more on the cherries if somebody's going to break down. Yeah, it might happen once. It might happen twice. But what I am playing with? I am playing with having my truck sit until the next day, and the market next day can go down, right? And I am wasting time for my driver to load, start driving, make his money, right? So that game, and you probably know a lot of dispatchers who would play that game. They would wait to the last minute, and a lot of time they are punishing themselves and their drivers. You tell me, because you broker, you know more on that side. Does that happen?
It happens, but the way you do it strategically as a carrier is you have a driver who's at home, who's ready to go at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and he doesn't care if he goes out tonight, tomorrow morning. We used to do it at the last company that I worked at.
Yeah, but we were talking about Washington. Nobody lives in Yakima. Nobody lives in Wenatchee. Okay, so yeah, you can do that with Chicago. I do that with Chicago when I have my owner operators in Chicago on Sunday night, and I get really spot market loads because somebody's missing and they pay a lot. Or Saturday night when I know that he's in Chicago. It can happen in a big markets, like Memphis. It can happen in Columbus when we have a lot. Even in Philadelphia, like Saturday night, you can get a better load if you would pre-book it, right? But again, driver who is willing to jump to that truck, driver who knows that that's what he's dealing with. But usually, I like to do my negotiations good every day so they can plan their time. They can go and sleep and eat, and they can do a lot of things. But it can backfire you. Okay, so let's go through the things you were showing us. So I know that you prepare some slides. So
Yes.
Let's see some techniques that you would like to share with us. And please, guys, ask the questions as a new dispatchers. What do you think you're still confused on? Or maybe what questions should be asked to help you to get better? So here's John's screen. Okay.
There we go. Is that working, Alex?
Yeah, that's working. We can see it. Yeah.
Okay, so let me start this. So labeling is a technique that you use to show your counterparty you're negotiating with that you understand what it is that they're looking for. So how can you separate people from the problem when their emotions are the problem? They aren't obstacles.
So give us example.
So an example is, I have to get my driver home and I've been trying all day and I haven't had any success. So when the broker calls me, I sound frustrated and he offers me 10,000 and I tell him 12,000 because it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon and I know he's going to pay. You're dealing with a highly emotional person. So what you can do is you can say to them, listen, I know you're posting your truck to Maryland and PA. My load goes to Carlisle. I'm not sure if you're looking for Baltimore or Philly, but I have a load where your truck is. I have, the freight where you want to go to. Let's talk this out. Let's work this out. So what you're doing is you're identifying their emotions and you're showing them that you know how they feel. And when you tell somebody that you see them, you're going to end up really just tempering a lot of the attitude that comes with it. And all of a sudden, you're going to be partners in negotiation as opposed to adversaries.
Okay, so that's what labeling means. Okay, see, guys, you're learning some terminology, okay?
So you always start it with, it seems like you've been having a rough day finding a load, and it sounds like I have something that would work for you.
Mm-hmm.
And if they say, oh, well, I don't want to go there, what makes you think that? You back out of it. Your out is, I said it seems like, not that it is the case. Yeah. So what you're trying to do is you are effectively managing their emotional state. It takes a lot of exercise in learning how to do this properly without coming across as offensive or pushy, but it's a highly usable tactic.
I need to start using it because I am pushy, I'm direct, Sounds to me like I need to cover my truck. Oh, you guys gonna give me that money? Oh, I'm gonna look for somebody else. So labeling, it's something I really need to work on this. And probably in our freight brokerage class, we're gonna be all working on it because this is a part of being a good negotiator, right? And that's what we bring into that freight brokerage training. It's not just about how to open company or find that, but how to really, really be successful.
Absolutely. And here's the beauty of labeling. When you get it wrong, they're going to tell you. So the power of labeling is that it forces your counterparty to reveal their true motives. Now, it's a tool, not a strategy. It's just one of many different things that I'm going to be teaching in our course on freight brokerage.
Okay.
So when you label a negative, it diffuses them. What I mean by that is, Alex, if you and I are talking and I say, Alex, it sounds like you're really frustrated and you want to just get this over with. If I'm correct, you're going to say, yeah, listen, I've been working on this truck for 4 hours. I've just been going over all these loads that don't work for my driver. Yeah, I'm frustrated.
Yeah, I'm frustrated, John, because I'm asking you to give me 91.50 and you're still going to 89. You frustrated me, John.
So the other thing is, if you're labeling something and it's incorrect, they're going to say, oh, no, that's not what it is. I just got off of a difficult phone call. I have to leave work early and, I have to pick up my kid because, I don't know, the babysitter canceled on me. You're getting people to reveal the human aspect of them so you can empathize with them. Okay. And the sooner you can empathize with them, that's the third bullet point here. When you label their experience, you are converting their experience into emotional currency. So you are showing them you understand them not just as a counterparty in negotiation, but you understand them as a human being. Okay. So now
it's important to understand that dispatchers, we are human beings. Drivers, they are human beings. Brokers, they are human beings. Shipper and receivers, they also human. And a lot of times we do have negative things going out through the day, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. So the interesting thing about that is, so once I label your experiences and I either get them right and you see I understand you, or I get them wrong, but I get them wrong in a diplomatic way, you then explain them to me. Mm-hmm. So at this point, you now know that I understand you and I understand what you're going through. So when I tell you, Alex, 88 really is the best I can do. I wish I could help you out. You might be more inclined to take it because I understand you.
Plus, if you're going to mention me and hopefully we can finish this really fast and you can go pick up your kids, right? So you put it in my head, okay, that's something I really need to finish right now because I still have to take care of the kids because I get frustrated with the soccer practice or something else. Or maybe the previous load canceled and I am dealing with some brokers. So yes, sympathizing and kind of telling me that, well, honestly, I'm trying my best, right?
That's right. And I'm recognizing that and I'm seeing you for who you are. You are a human being who is at work doing the best job that you can, but you also have obligations. And the sooner we close this deal, the sooner you get to your obligations.
Okay, sounds good.
So that your negative situation, coming to the last bullet point, is having to go and take your kid to soccer practice. You have to be there in an hour and you have an hour and 15 minutes. So I empathize with your situation. I provide a solution. And then you see that I have empathy for your situation and you are more inclined to not only take my load because you see that I understand your motivations, but you are more inclined to call me next week when you're back out in Washington and you need another load.
It's just so funny because today I told you I had the negotiation about the Colorado load, right? And it was on Friday. And the guy called me at 4:30 p.m. So it's Friday. And of course, it's going to Colorado. My map is already not there. I know the miles. I know the market. And I'm asking, okay, how much are you paying? And he's telling me, well, 31, but I can go to 34. And I know I'm not going to go there to 34. Of course, I said, well, to go to Colorado, and it's going to be heavy, a dry load, I really need to be at 43. And he's like, but really, maybe you can help me in 36. And I told him, listen, you know what? I'm actually on the way to go to my Pilates. And that's what I was doing because I gave myself a promise that every day I'm going to go for 1 hour to Pilates. And I've been doing it for 6 days. I'm proud of myself. Today was a 6th day. And I told him, if you really want to do it, I'll go to 4,021 because 25 because that's where was my target. And he's like, but then I'm going to be losing $100. And I told him, do you want to be frustrated in the morning or you are going to lose only 100? Because first I was asking you for way more. So I know you're going to be losing, but it's Friday. On Monday, it's going to be covered and we are done. We are set up. good guy, you don't have to worry about it. And I told him right away, I don't even have time to sign the rate confirmation. Make sure you send it to me. I'll send it back to you later today. And you know what? He's like, okay, yeah, I'm okay. I need to get out too because I need to go pick up my kids right there. So did I have to? Yeah, you know what? I could have done it for 3,800. I know I could have done it for 3,800. I started with 45, but I made him feel like I'm helping you, man. Come on. You are not losing $300, right? You're only going to lose $100. So that made him feel good. Are you still there, John, or you frozen up? I see that John got frozen. So any questions, guy? We're going to remove him for a second. Any questions on negotiation? What do you think about how to sound more professional? How to understand? Do you see how the brokers are playing with your minds? John, I'm bringing you back because you frozen there for the second.
There we go.
So, labeling. So we talk about empathy. We talk about understanding that we are humans. So that is good. What else? What else you think we should know as a good negotiators?
Well, always know the motivations of your counterparty. So here's a great example. This is from 10 years ago. I was trying to move a load of paper on a Friday afternoon out of McCool, Maryland, which is on the Western Peninsula. It's the middle of nowhere. You never have trucks there. You're looking at a minimum of 100 miles deadhead. This was going to Windsor, Connecticut for Sunday night delivery.
Mm-hmm.
So who wants to do something like this? You can't load a reefer because it's roll paper and you can't nail it into the floor to secure it. So you need to drive in. So I have a company call me out of Chicago, Arca Express.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy says, oh, I have a driver over there. Tell me about the load. So I tell him, and I said, it's paying $765. So it's 350 miles. And again, this is 10 years ago. You do not see these rates anymore. So he says to me, can you do 1,200? So I put him on hold. I go speak to my manager. My manager says, offer him 800. Tell him it's the best you can do. He's going to take the load. So I do. And he takes the load. So I send it out to him. And I said to my manager, how did you know? And he looked at me and he said, John, it's a Chicago-based company calling you on a Friday afternoon for a load that this guy's not going to get empty with tomorrow. And he has to sit there all weekend. Why is he going there? It's because his driver lives there. He's going home.
He's going home. He's going home. That's why, like East Coast market, we have a lot of carriers and drivers who live in Chicago. That's why load, for example, from East Coast on Wednesday, on Thursday, on Tuesday, usually higher than Friday load. Why? Because most of the drivers, they don't care if they're going to lose the difference in $200-$300. They just want to make sure that Saturday afternoon, they are back home in Chicago because they have to take care of their family, of the kids. That's why a lot of times brokers know that it's Friday and we have a lot of people going back to Chicago area. So they use that advantage. But a lot of times they forgetting one thing. They forgetting to remember some of the holidays, which is not only USA holidays, right? Because we have a lot of Eastern Europeans, right? We have a different Easter. And sometimes brokers forget about it. And then, wow, that Friday is going to be spot market for everybody else who is not celebrating that Easter, because most of Eastern Europeans already home on Thursday because his wife is telling you know what? You never home. If you're not even home on Thursday night before Easter, that's it. Done, right? So those guys, they don't care. They will take cheap rates. They will go home. For everybody else, this is going to be spot market. Same happening with other holidays and different markets, right? So as a broker, do you pay attention to that?
You have to, and not just the Eastern European holidays too.
That's why I'm just giving an example, but I said, and we have all other, right? We have a lot of different nationalities.
That's right. It's been my experience that most of the drivers are either Eastern Europe, so they're Orthodox, so they're either a week or two behind the typical religious holidays, or they're of Indian descent. So you deal with a lot of. I was totally ignorant to all of these Indian holidays, And they are not around other holidays either. And you will get rate spikes because nobody wants to leave.
But also, you forgetting about all Ramadan and people who practice, Islam religion. That's also big because believe me, we have spot market due to that. Because also we have a lot of people who have those religious beliefs and they have their holidays. We all have to respect them. But as a pro dispatcher, pro broker, you always have to pay attention to this. And especially for dispatchers, new dispatchers working around USA holidays is challenging, right? Tell them from your own experience how many times even the receivers or shippers who you know for years will change their hours, and sometimes they will not even tell you the truth and they will close early or they will not open. They promise you, well, we're going to be open the day after Christmas at 6 p.m. And you have a bunch of trucks sitting there and they're not going to open because they're short on people, especially now with the COVID. They're short on people. So instead of 6 p.m., they finally start receiving at 1, 2 a.m., hopefully, or maybe even next day. So you as a broker, do you experience this as well? Like that actually shippers, receivers are not gonna honestly tell you the holiday hours. Yes, you ask them, they say, well, should be this, but then something happens and it changed. So can I start screaming at you and getting pissed, or I have to understand, well, this is holidays, that things can happen. That's why in my class I teach, be careful with the times. Be careful with commodities, especially if you're a reefer, right? You don't want to have minus 20 degrees. You don't want to have minus 10 degrees sitting somewhere. You don't want to have cherries extra 2 days, right? Around Independence Day. Because you might have to sit and that $250 layover is not worth it because you have a chance to have the cargo claim, right? So this is something that we all need to ask. But let's go back to that one more HOS hours. Are you really asking or you trusting dispatchers that they are able to do the transit? From your experience, I mean, of course, if you're working with me, I already know, or people who you work with, they already know what the transit, but do you double check? Or you just leave it on the dispatcher's shoulders and the new driver?
It really depends. If it's a new carrier, I don't leave anything to chance. I have one carrier based out of Fresno. I know he makes all local trucks do pickups, so I know that his road trucks are not burning hours. I have two other carriers who I know that any load I offer them, they're going to say that it has one extra day transit. So it really depends. I can't give a one size fits all answer. I had a carrier recently, I think it was on Friday. He told me he had a truck in New Jersey. I had a load, one pick, one stop to Hammond, Louisiana, delivering Sunday. First thing he did before I even got to money was he checked the driver's hours. I mean, that's the type of person he is. He's never taken a load from me he couldn't deliver. So if you do not know the person, you do not know how they do business, you have to ask the questions.
Okay, and here we have the question. The reefer truck, would you take a weekend load that's due on Monday, or does that depend on what being carried in the truck? Isn't it a risk for the product? Again, it depends on how good your reefer, how old is the unit, how good is your driver responsible, because it's not even about the commodity. What if this driver is doing a reset, right? And you do have a cargo in his truck. He's gonna leave you a truck somewhere with reefer running, right? I don't like that. I don't like my own experience, because sometimes even if you're on truck stop, you have a bunch of dry vans around you and your reefer with minus 10 degree standing there Saturday, Sunday, right? Making all the noises. Sometimes people get frustrated. Believe it or not, we have it happen when people go and turn on the reefer because he wants to sleep when he's doing his restart. So for me, this is a big liability. But again, it depends what we delivering, because reefer can have only like chilled product, but maybe some candy which has to be at 55, 60. I am not worried that much about. But minus 10, cherries over weekend, minus 20, never. I don't care how much, or even if John gonna say me, Alex, you know what? You will need to hold the cherries for 2 extra days because you have 3 drops. I am giving you, instead of 85, I'm giving you 12,000. And my answer would be, thank you, John. Give me 85. I'll take one-on-one today. I don't care about, because I know the cost of trucking. I know the cost of cargo claims. I know how easy it is to lose your company. So that also comes with experience. But a lot of people go for what? For money, 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 right? And actually, you know what? I wanted to actually share. We have some YouTuber, the young guy who is posting his negotiations, and it just killed me. Just listen to this, John, and you tell me your opinion, because I wrote him a little note. Sounds good. I'm proud of you, but please learn some dispatching. So he posted their phone call, and he's calling the lady from Michigan, and the load goes to California. And he's like, oh, nobody gets a load for 6,000 from Michigan going to California. Sounds good in the beginning, right? Everyone's listening 6,000, right? Well, when you listen to the lady, she's saying, well, this is ice cream load, minus 20, right? Minus 20 from Michigan going to California has extra 2 drops. What are we talking about? Extra 2 days in transit in California. And also the first drop in Houston, Texas. So just picture the map. You are in Michigan. You go to Houston, then you go to California, 2 extra drop minus. So when you really run the miles, it's actually become 3,200 miles. So it's under $2. Commodity is minus 20 degrees. And everybody's cheering him like, man, you're so good. I wish I could dispatch like you. Guys, no, you don't want dispatch like that, because this is you killing your company with your own hands. Do you agree with that?
100%. Because next thing you know, you're not making a straight line from Michigan to California. You're making essentially a right angle, which adds, we all know A squared plus B squared equals C squared, and you are just adding so many miles. You turn a 2,800 mile trip and you add 400 miles, 2 drops.
Yeah, but
It's
also ice cream minus 20 going in the summer, and it was in the summer. He posted it in the beginning of August. So we're talking about 100 degrees in Michigan because it was hot. We're talking about 120 in Houston. We're talking about 100, 1,500 in Los Angeles. And I hope he had a good reefer. I hope he still stay in business. But that's what I want to say. Sometimes people think that money, that means the best paying load. So can you just tell them that sometimes when the broker gives you way more money, there's always going to be a catch?
Yeah, nobody gives away free money unless it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon on a Friday and you're the only truck within 300 miles of the load. It doesn't happen. Nobody's that nice.
And the difference between one-on-one, let's say one-on-one, and we're talking about difference in 1,500, and now you're talking about 3 picks, 2 drops, 1,500. You know that happens in Washington, right? Go to Yakima, go to Wenatchee, then you're gonna go to Pasco, Sila, then you're gonna drop first in Pennsylvania, then Maryland, right there. 1,500. I mean, knowing me, I never do that, right? Because I don't care if I'm gonna make less $1,500, but I'm one-on-one. I'm loaded, I got out, I am saving on transit. But how many dispatchers, when you tell them nonsense, because guys, I mean, let's admit, you guys have 2-3 picks sometimes, right? And 2-3 drops, right? Is your carrier really people who really understand logistics? Are they ever going to take that?
It depends. It really, really depends. You are not going to get a Pennsylvania carrier to do 3 picks, 2 drops to Du Bois and Maryland out of California because he can just get a 1-on-1. Now, if you call a California carrier who's based out of LA or Fresno and there's 2 picks LA, 1 Bakersfield with 2 drops, he's going to take it. You have to know who you're negotiating with.
And when you negotiate with Eastern Europeans from Chicago, are they going to take it or are they going to ask you for 20 grand?
No matter what you ask, what offer you give them, they're going to ask you for some ridiculous number more. And if they really don't want the load, they're going to tell you no. If they're trying to gouge you on the rate, they're going to ask you for 25% more than you offered them. And they will settle. If they give you an offer.
What do you tell them? Call me when you more realistic, or you just hang up, or you put them on a hold and you keep covering other trucks and let them sit there. How do you really do? Because you know what? Not that I'm making fun of it. I am Eastern European. I deal with this every day. Not proud of it, but that's something which is like, and it's not only Eastern European. A lot of people, I am not gonna drop your load unless you pay me 1,500 in layover. Really? What are you gonna do with it? Go and put it in your backyard? This is liability on your company. So it's like, terrorist negotiation, right? If you don't give me this, I'm not going to do this. Remember when the guy was giving the story about the guy with cherries, right? Or he took half of the load and then he was asking for all that money, blah, blah, blah. This is kind of terroristic negotiations, right? This
It
is
is.
not professional. And in the end of the day, carriers don't understand that liability is on their shoulders because product is on their truck. The moment they close the door, this is their liability. Until they're gonna go and get what? Clean BOL, right? Even if
That's
they
right.
have rejection, even if they have damage, it still goes first against them, not you, not everybody else. So sometimes, even when we get upset, having kind of cold head and trying to achieve some kind of negotiation and help from you, right? Because if I am calling and I have rejection, John, and I have that attitude, I don't care, start affording you this and this, my driver is not gonna redeliver. Are you really gonna try to help that carrier to resell that produce somewhere else? Or you're gonna like, okay, you know what? Why don't you deal with it? Because in your heart, you know it's gonna go against him.
It depends.
You as a good human and good broker and being loyal, you will say, well, let us see what we can do. And most of the time you guys help to resell. Of course it's gonna be some we're gonna lose some money, but at least not as much.
Correct. Yeah, it really depends on how the carrier approaches it. I've had carriers who have yelled at me and I've helped them, and I've had carriers who have yelled at me and I've hung up the phone on them and told them it's your problem. It really depends. It depends on the relationship, but it also depends. So, with a claim, if it's a small amount, let's say it's 1 pallet of cherries, that's going to be about $3,000. But I paid them $12,000 to cross the country, and they don't want to be cooperative, and the rest of the freight's off their truck. I'll say, listen, I'm trying to help you. If you don't want me to help you, that's fine. It's a $3,000 claim. We'll just take it off the invoice and pay the $9,000. It's no problem. As soon as they realize that you have their money, they change their tune real quickly. But if it's a $25,000 claim and you paid them 12 grand and you have no open invoices against them to recoup the money, you have to play nice.
Okay.
So it's a tricky situation. Again, it's not a one size fits all solution, but ultimately you get more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. In other words, be nice.
For the new dispatcher, especially for reefers, and we talked about this last time when we had you on live. I do believe that cherries is one of the commodities you have to be really careful, especially if you are a company with one truck, one guy. Maybe you should stay away from cherries. What other commodities? Blueberries is one of them. Also, most of the insurance are exclusion for blueberries, actually. So, what other commodity you would really pay attention to as a new dispatcher and a small carrier? Because again, small carriers, we cannot afford those cargo claims because we're going to close our doors really fast and our insurance is going to go up. And sometimes, if it's not covered, if it's a human error or something else, or maybe it was excluded, this is a lot of money. Seems like, wow, 25,000, not a big deal, but it is a big deal, 25,000. Even 3,000 for 1 pallet of cherries, it's a big deal.
Yeah. And that's the average cost. It could be anywhere from $40 a box to, you're talking 120 boxes a pallet. It could be $40 a box or $120 a box if you're dealing with in-season high demand cherries.
So would you say that apples, probably potatoes, pears, apricots are easier to deal? Grapes, not that bad, right? Grapes.
No, grapes aren't that bad.
Oranges are good. Oranges are good.
Yeah, oranges are the easiest commodity because if you run them, you could run them at 34, 40, 45. It takes a lot to destroy a load of oranges.
What about bananas and avocados?
So avocados, typically when they come across the border, they're not ripe yet. So you're running them at 42 degrees. You don't want them to ripen in transit. Bananas, I have never hauled a load of bananas.
Okay, so what about watermelons? Do you guys deal with watermelons?
Sometimes we deal with melons, but more like honeydew melons or cantaloupes.
Okay.
When it comes to watermelons, when you're dealing with binned melons, they are the cheapest commodity of melons. I mean, I work in the Hunts Point market. I've seen trucks where they double stack bins, and if one bin shifts, every bin in the row the whole way back shifts. And next thing you know, you're taking 50 watermelons out of one bin, and you're doing that 10 times the whole way back. Yeah.
Well, so let me ask you this: since you right there with guy in market in Hunts Point market, guys, you have so many rejections, so many trucks trying to sell the produce that probably every time you go home, you get like a really cheap watermelons, bananas, mangoes, and everything else. Is that becoming an issue of the trucks sitting there trying to deal with rejections,
So
sitting there
you
for days sometimes?
No. So we typically don't have rejections in the Bronx that are usable product.
Mhm.
So, for example, we'll have a load of mixed greens and a load of scallions. So it'll come in, and let's say that the scallions were too close to the reefer unit, and now they have frost on them. They're garbage. There's no selling. There's no market for frozen scallions. So, unfortunately, it's a truck claim. And as far as the first thing you said, you might be surprised to know this, but 2 years working in the Hunts Point market, I've never come home with anything even. I don't bring produce home. It's not a thing. We don't work for a
Really?
produce house. We work for a broker. So they throw out truckloads of produce every day. It's such a shame.
They do, right?
Yeah, at least 3 truckloads, 3 full 40-foot containers of produce get thrown out every day.
Yeah, because they could donate them. They could just, probably some product is not that, well, I mean, maybe first few pallets has frost to them, but that's a lot of extra, labor involved and redelivering and everything else. Well,
Yep.
I can tell you this, since I'm coming to New York to visit you and Guy, and we're gonna be finishing up on our brokerage. So hopefully I can have a pick of the Hunts Point market. I don't think that's a destination I really want to be concentrating when I'm going to be visiting New York. But as always, it's been a pleasure, and thanks for giving us some tips on how to negotiate. The last questions: what condition gives the dispatchers more leverage? What conditions?
The number one condition is the time of day you're negotiating.
Time of the day. So
Yeah,
again, as you said, that morning is a broker's market and afternoons is for carriers. Probably also day of the week, right?
definitely.
Friday will be different than Monday. Monday, everybody's just starting. They have so probably also day of the week. And again, new carriers. What things they have to say to sound more confident to you? So first of all, know about commodities, right? If they talking about cherries, apples, so now hopefully I can see my students understanding me. Why did I send them the list of all reefer commodities so they can kind of memorize apples at 34, fresh beef at 28, bananas at 48, watermelons at 52, because this is kind of knowledge. It's going to help them to sound more confident, right? So even if you have that in front of you and you telling me it's cherries, I can really fast look and say, okay, so it's going to be at 34, because if I am saying that first, don't I sound that I know what the hell I am talking about? Sorry that I am direct like this, but is it going to make you feel a little bit more comfortable with me?
Absolutely. And if you tell me, okay, well, this is 17 hours transit, my driver has 34 left on his 70, and he started his logbook at 8 o'clock this morning, so he can make it there, get loaded, and shut down. Yeah, we can make this work for you. I'm going to need another 500. You know what? I might give it to that person.
Okay. Again, remember that example, going to Pennsylvania, going to Massachusetts, right? We're talking about different distance. So it's going to Massachusetts, usually it's going to be extra day in transit, right? So right there, if you guys going to get comfortable with the transit and miles right there, well, you know what? I really think I would like to go to Pennsylvania. Also knowing like, okay, how heavy is the load, right? Because of the toll cost. And again, asking you, who is the shipper, who is the receiver? Don't you think when the dispatcher asking you, who is the shipper, who is the receiver, he kind of actually has a knowledge. Like you told me, it's going to be what in Washington, the ones I don't like,
Yes, the mill.
Still, well, they take forever, right? But if you go to Orlando, those guys are fast. So when dispatcher asking you that, but he also needs to know some shippers and receivers, right? Like for example, Giant Foods, they receive from midnight till like 10, 11. After a few loads, you're gonna know that, right? But if you go into CNS in Massachusetts, it's always going to be night delivery. So that's why another negotiation. Well, John, yes, you know what? I'm gonna choose Pennsylvania because usually you probably gonna go to CNS. Is that correct? Yes. So it's going to be night receiving. So that's again extra transit. So my advice for all my dispatchers, know those basic foundation. The distance, the miles, the commodity, zip codes. Don't ask a million times, where is Yakima, where is Wenatchee, right? Before they call you, shouldn't they put on the map and see how far their truck is? Should they do that?
Absolutely. And if one thing to backtrack real quickly, when you're saying they're asking about who's the shipper, who's the receiver, it may or may not be relevant, but an inexperienced dispatcher is never going to ask that question.
Yes. And here we have, see, because I told you, we have a new people. So they're asking 34. What does it mean? We were given example of temperature for commodities. So cherries have to be cold at 34. So if Santino is calling to you and you telling them that it has to be cold at 34, and she is gonna ask you back, what does it mean at 34? Right here, you're gonna like, okay, she has no clue yet about reefer commodities, right? So right here is a good example why we need to take them some trainings, why we need a strong foundation so we can do better negotiations, because that's how we're gonna become a good dispatchers, right? And a good brokers. Goes both ways. One more questions before I let you go, because I still gonna show them few tricks on the load board. Lots of people asking, should I go to the freight brokerage without any experience in trucking or logistics? Because everybody tells that being freight broker is so easy. Can I just jump in? What is your truthful personal insight on it?
If you have background in sales and negotiation, you can do it with the right training. But if you do not have that background, you need to work on that before you can start selling your company, selling your services, and making money.
Well, good negotiation people have. For example, somebody sells anything. You can be selling furniture, cars, right? Negotiation skills, knowing the psychology of the other party, all good. But misrepresenting on all the groups, on Facebook, on YouTube, and everything. Well, you have the sales skills, you can just jump into freight brokerage without knowing actually trucking or logistics or produce market. Do you think that that's can really happen?
It's highly unlikely.
Unlikely, right? Because that's what my opinion is, that you have to start from beginning. Because when we're gonna take back 10, 12 years ago, right? You as a new to logistics, do you think you could have jumped being a broker right away?
No, I probably had to have about 5 years experience, but it's also not something that I was dedicated towards doing. The more drive you have to achieve your goals, the quicker you will achieve them because you'll become obsessive about them. You'll want to learn everything about the industry. You'll want to learn about safety, even though you don't have your own safety department as a broker. You're going to want to learn about hours of service, even though you have no drivers. You need to know your counterparty's business. You need to know how the carrier works as much as how your customer works.
That's why my students are telling me, Alex, why do you know so much? You know about safety, you know about dispatching, you know how to open a company, you know this, you know that. Because like you said, when I got into this, I wanted to be so good that I got obsessed and I understood, well, I am lacking knowledge here. I need to improve my HOS understanding. Well, I have no clue about safety. So yes, it is possible. So my message to everybody, it's possible to be a good dispatcher. It's possible to become a successful brokerage. You only need strong foundation, knowledge of any industry. In our case, terminologies, the sales, the commodities, the produce market, HOS hours. Doesn't matter which side of the transportation you're going to be. And it's possible. And some people have that determination and they can succeed within the first year, 2 years. They don't have to wait 5, 10 years, especially nowadays with terminology. But I think it's a big misunderstanding when people say go pay $300, open UMC, and tomorrow you're gonna be a freight broker. And people think it's so easy. It's not easy because when they make that phone call, they don't even have a clue what are they gonna be talking about, how to price it. So should we tell everybody that yes, it's possible, but you need to have some kind of training for future, like to make it faster and more productive?
You have to be humble when you're getting into any new industry and understand that you're never going to be totally knowledgeable. You need to surround yourself with good mentors and people who have been doing this so that when you ask the wrong questions, they tell you what the right questions are to ask and guide you in the right manner so you can be successful.
So you personally, let's say you've been doing it for last few years, right? Do you personally take extra trainings? Do you read extra books? Do you Google extra things? Do you go and listen to more successful people as a person? Because you can be comfortable where you at.
Absolutely. I've read so many books about the different types of personalities that you'll deal with. There was even a point in time where I had an ex-heroin addict working for me, and I went out of my way on my personal time to understand the psychology of addiction so I could be a better manager for him.
That's good. So you invest in your time to be a better broker, to be a better co-worker, to be a better manager, right? Because that's what it takes. And that's what I am trying to do. And that's why we actually added that membership on our YouTube for $3.99. And I just made the nonprofit organization Empower Through Education, because I do believe education is a key. If you have a strong education and you learn things like today, see, labeling. I did not know the term. So because of you telling us today, now I know what labeling is, right? I am using it. I just did not know the terminology because I never kind of, cross that word. But I knew, especially for people with different language, sometimes we know that in our language, but we never cross it in English. So we learn something every day. But again, it was a pleasure. And I want to tell everybody, John is our instructor for our upcoming freight brokerage class in December. And we're going to have one more instructor, guys. They work together. They've been in business for a long time. We're going to see you around. And it was a pleasure again. And I'll see you soon in New York.
Sounds good, Alex. Looking forward to it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Bye-bye. And guys, just few more things I would like to show you. Okay? So we were talking about a lot of things, right? As you know, I need to make sure that you, my dispatchers, do the things correct. When we were talking about quick rate search, again, where are we going to do this? We're going to go to tools, we're going to do the quick rate search. When we're going to go to quick rate search, you can choose different equipment. When, reefer, flatbed, right? You can choose a city, origin city. So let's do really fast. Memphis, Tennessee. Let's say you do not know how much to ask. Going to Oklahoma City, right? Oh, you know what? Hold on. Oklahoma City. Okay. When you click, it's going to give you what? It's going to give you the trip. How much everybody have been paying for the last 15 days. So isn't it going to help you out before you pick up that phone to know that everybody else is paying 2,200. If we're talking about reefer, pay attention. If it's a reefer, let's change. If it's a drive-in, how much are they paying for the same lane? Well, they paying 1,880. See, different equipment. So that means that the market for reefer from Memphis to going to Oklahoma is stronger than for drive-in. Okay, let's pay attention to flatbed. Same 1,800. And you can play backwards. If you're gonna go to Oklahoma and you wanna come back to Memphis, what are they paying? Wow, even less. What does it prove to you? Is flatbed should really go from Memphis to Oklahoma right now? Maybe not, right? Or at least you're gonna know what are they paying so you can negotiate. What if it's a drive-in from Oklahoma back to Memphis? Well, guys, nothing. Market right now in Oklahoma for drive-in went down going to Memphis. So should you go to Oklahoma now with a drive-in? But let's see the reefer, right? And look at this. Reefer is still strong. And why is it strong? Because my students know we are in Oklahoma, we are reefer. What do we have? We have all the beef, all the pork, right? So that's why reefer is strong. We're coming from Tennessee. What is Tennessee surrounded with the fresh poultry? That's why for the reefer, going there 2,200, coming back 1,800, it's good. Drive-in, well, going there is okay. Coming back sucks. Flatbed, kind of in the middle. So this is the tools you guys gonna use. What else we were talking? Trend lines. How much is the market paying right now, right? Remember, it's very easy to see. You're gonna go to that and you're gonna see. Well, October. The first one is drive-in. So what's going on in October? We close September $2.83 for drive-in for the loaded miles. Remember, loaded miles. We close the market for flatbeds at 307 for September. Now it went a little bit down. Look at this. October for reefer is going up. Why is it going up? Because we start getting apples in Washington, right? We start getting stuff from Mexico, from the border. We're getting stuff in Laredo. We're getting stuff in Arizona, right? Also salads, cucumbers, oranges. We have apples, pears. So why do you need to know your markets? Why do you need to learn how to use your load boards? Because, guys, I am begging you, stop being desperate dispatchers. Stop picking up that phone number and saying, well, meh. No, you calling about load posted from Memphis going to Oklahoma for today, for tomorrow, for drive-in, for reefer. What time is the pickup? What time is the delivery? You're going to look at the map. You're going to look at HOS of your driver. Is that transit make sense? If it makes sense, go to the next question. What is the commodity? Well, commodity is beer. Do you take beer? Is your driver take beer? You know beer is going to be heavy. Do you want to deal with heavy load? Do you even have coverage for alcohol? Okay, let's say you have all that. Let's say you're that desperate that you're going to take that heavy beer load, right? At least make sure how heavy it is. Is that 45 and a half includes the pallets, right? Is it going to be single stack, double stack? So ask all those questions. Make sure your truck is not going to be overweight. Do they have the scale on the site? Are they going to scale you to legal limit? So ask them those questions. Do they need drive-in with the wooden floors or plated trailer? Do they need E-tracks? And if they do need E-tracks, how many straps do they need? All those questions, guys, we are going over and over and over and over in our class. Our students have the real rate confirmation. They calculating rate per miles. They look all the details. Our classes are very intense. They're very hands-on. And actually, I'm so glad that next week we're going to be starting my favorite time, practice time, when we are going to be divided into the groups and they all going to be making those phone calls and make me proud, because that's what I do, guys. I want to make sure that people from my class, students, all the women, all the guys who come and learn from me, they're gonna make me proud. And we're gonna change trucking one person at a time. And again, from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate you signing up as a members to our YouTube channel. It's $3.99. If you did not do that, please do so. As I told you, those money gonna go to the good cause. And I would love to thank you again for being here, asking questions. And how about taking course for broker and then jump into brokerage? Yes, that's what we said. First, get some training. Don't just go jump in the brokerage. You need to know more about this. Thank you again. And somebody asked me, has a new carrier, is it best to sign up for the highest debt plan? Well, the highest one was 149, and now they are going to be actually 179 starting in November. Remember, guys, you can get 1 free month if you call them and mention our code 2017475. Well, why do you want to have at least 149 plan or 179? Because of all of these tools, guys. All of these tools are not available in a cheaper version, right? Quick research, market conditions. Remember when we were talking about ratio, right? Next, don't show this again. Next. When we were talking about ratio of the loads, right? So let's see again. Memphis, Tennessee. If I am applying filter, right? What can I see? Well, I can see that for drive in, you can choose here prior business day, and let's say today, okay? You can see the market. So you're gonna see that it is 1192 loads and only 160 trucks. So what does it tell you? It's not enough trucks and it's a lot of loads. So ratio is in your favor. So that means that it's going to be easier for you to negotiate. Let's say we change for flatbed in the same Memphis area, right? Still, look, how hot is this Memphis? Because why? Because they have all the production there, industrial production. They have things made from the steel. So look at this. For step deck, it's even better for flatbed because it's almost 2,600 loads and only 16 trucks. So that means the rates are going to be easier to negotiate. If we're going to talk about reefer, let's see about reefer. Well, look at this. In Memphis, right now, do we have the producer? No. So we need to go to Mississippi, Arkansas to get the chicken. But in Memphis for reefer, look, only 313 loads and 26 trucks, right? So no, this is a neutral market. If you go to Los Angeles right now, let's see. Los Angeles, California. Let's look at the reefers now. What's going on? See? Not that many. So what does it mean? That means that the South California is not really paying much. Let's change to Sacramento, right? Let's change to San Francisco. And see the difference for reefers there. See, it is better. So even by doing these little things, you can see, is South California paying or Northern California or South? Is Miami paying or Jacksonville paying? Is Seattle paying or Boise, Idaho paying? is Pennsylvania Paint. So this is the tools which come with that higher paying subscription. So it seems like, yes, it's $30 a month, maybe difference right now, right? $149 to $179. Believe me, it's gonna make your life so much easier. Not because we partner with them, because I use it all the time. Also, using the load boards for the brokers, right? I also have Truck Stop. Maybe I'll do the video for Truck Stop. They're too busy for me. I have it. Actually, everybody in my class, if you want to practice, make sure you text me, email me today. I'll give you guys logins. Just practice Truck Stop. Load boards for the brokers. On a Saturday, we were playing with Coyote, right? We were not playing. The load was posted for 45. We put 6,000 and they took it. But again, when you see all the details, we already knew that it was desperate load because it had minus 10 degrees, 4 or 5 drops in California. It was not even worth $6,000. They also had another load one-on-one. We did put an offer, and actually after finishing the class they recounter me at 54. The 54 was much better option, right? One-on-one going from, and the temperature was there 34 instead of minus 10. Well, I hope you guys learning with me. I hope you with me on a mission to change trucking for better. For all my students who in mentoring, I'm gonna see you tomorrow night 7 p.m. We have very intense class. Be prepared for 3 hours of brainstorming, probably. So make sure you have your notes, you have your tea, maybe some snack, because we're going to be having intense class. Everybody who did not join mentoring yet, make sure you do so today or tomorrow so you can be included in tomorrow's training. It's only twice a month. And again, thank you, and we love you. And together with you, we're gonna change trucking for better. And remember, do not be a desperate dispatch service. Watch this and remember not to do what other people do. Learn this industry, and when you reach out to carriers, represent this industry and your knowledge the way it should be. Love you all and see you next month.